Hello and welcome to Mining Minute. I'm Courtney James with the Acuity Advisory Corp, and it's my pleasure to host today's discussion with our guest, Sharyn Alexander, the president of Sun Summit Minerals. Sharyn, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Courtney.
So you are much better at explaining the company and the background and the projects that comprise Sun Summit Minerals than I am. So I'm just hoping you can kick things off by giving everyone a little background on that.
So we're a junior exploration company focused in British Columbia. We have both gold and copper assets. One is our recently optioned JD project in the Toodoggone region. So this is north central BC, really an emerging region. We have epithermal gold and silver targets as well as copper porphyry potential. And then as well, we have our Buck project in central BC, which is in another emerging region and a lot of potential here for epithermal gold, silver, as well as copper. And so, yeah, we have an experienced management and technical team. And yeah, we're really looking forward to an exciting summer of exploration.
That is great. And so you mentioned right there that the JD project is an exciting new addition to the story. And in January, Sun Summit finalized an agreement to option the JD project in the Toodoggone Gold Copper District in north central BC. Could you tell us a little bit more about this project and what motivated your decision to seize this opportunity?
So in terms of the Toodoggone project, the JD project, we weren't necessarily looking for to move on from our Buck project. This is something that our technical advisor, Chris Leslie, and our previous CEO, Bob Willis, are always on the lookout for new opportunities. Chris had actually worked on this property years ago. And so when it came up for option, this is something that we felt we would jump on. It was a really great opportunity in terms of a lot of, highly prospective targets with, very underexplored. And so we really went for this aggressively. We were in competition with a few other operators who were looking to also option the property. And in the end, I believe our first year program and some of the exploration plans that we had put together really impressed the vendors, and they were really looking to see this project advanced. It has seen multiple different operators in the past, on and off since the 80s and 90s, again in the mid 2010s. And so it's really a great opportunity for us to, have some discovery potential. We're doing extensive data review right now, which is identifying even more targets that previously haven't been, available digitally. And so we really have the potential to delineate a meaningful system here at the JD project.
That's great. And I think one of my, well, not one of my, there's tons of great things about the project, but if anyone ever has a hard time remembering how to say it, Sharyn reminded me a couple of months ago, an easy way to remember it is it's Toodoggone, so it's doggone far.
Yes.
Um, and that's a good way to help remember to say it, but it's also kind of reflective of the fact that there's not too many other companies that are out working in that area. And you also just mentioned that you had a competitive edge that helped you beat out some other people and other companies that were looking around there. So what in terms of this competitive edge can you speak to and the experience of your company that's going to help you advance?
So in terms of the prospectivity of the region, the Toodoggone really is an emerging region. It had seen previous exploration in spurts on and off, but as you had mentioned, it was too doggone far. The infrastructure and access was not as great as it is today.
Hmm.
The Toodoggone's really been unlocked in the past decade or so. There's been some explorers, notably Benchmark, Thesis Gold, as well as TDG Gold. HDI AMark is in the area, and all of this is just north of the Kemess mining camp. So there was a Kemess open pit copper gold mine that is now, on care and maintenance, but there's a lot of potential to bring, mining back to the region. So there's been a lot of news coming up from the area as well. We saw Thesis just put out their combined mineral resource, so 4 million ounces measured and indicated, as well as over 700,000 ounces of inferred, and this is high grade gold. Thesis has also just made a high-grade discovery at their Bingo zone with grades very similar to what we're seeing on the JD project. So, I mean, the region itself, it's definitely prospective, and we own a very sizable chunk of land in that area. In terms of our jurisdictional advantage, our technical team, I mentioned our technical advisor, Chris Leslie, had previously worked on the JD project, but our technical team in general has experience in the Toodoggone and in British Columbia. In terms of the data, I mentioned we're doing extensive data collection. Some of this has never been captured digitally. So these are from internal reports or assessment reports. This is drilling, trenching, sampling, geophysics. Some of them, as you'll see in our news release that we just put out, that some of these targets really are emerging as some really prospective, scalable targets that really had not been previously explored. And then as well, we're using the same geological contractors as some of the other operators in the area. So we're using the same contractor that worked with Benchmark and now Thesis. So we can really hit the ground running with that jurisdictional advantage.
That's great. That definitely positions you positively to explore the area. And you also just touched on the news release that you recently put out. So I'm hoping you can expand a little bit on that. I know that was well received and marks some exciting advancements for the company.
So we found through extensive data review that we have kilometers scale of soil anomalies in what we're calling the Fin to Creek corridor. So the Fin zone is where it's seen most of the previous drilling, and then the Creek zone has only seen about 20 drill holes, but again, very high grades, very promising targets. And we're seeing this high grade gold and silver across many zones. Interesting to note is the relationship between the gold and silver indicates that there could be multiple mineralization styles, multiple mineralizing events. So this really points to high complexity, which in terms of mineralization, you really want to see that complexity that can lead to more mineralization and a lot of upsized potential. And then as well, some of the best anomalies that we're finding through soil and other surface geochemistry like Wolf and Schmidt zone, they really haven't been drill tested. And so this enhances the discovery potential. So we had news earlier in the year where we discussed some of our immediate high potential drill targets at the Fin zone and Creek zone. This only adds to the story and adds to the size and scale potential of this high grade area.
And speaking of potential, you recently also announced the closing of a $2.5 million private placement that we understand saw significant demand from investors. With that money now in the bank, can you tell us a little bit about your near-term and long-term exploration plans for the newly optioned JD project?
Sentiment has definitely turned more bullish over the past few weeks, and that
Yeah.
really allowed us to bring in a great group of shareholders, some new high net worth investors who are really interested in the JD project and the Toodoggone in general.
Hmm.
So we were able to close our $2.5 million private placement. In fact, the interest was so high, we pivoted and we maximized the hard dollar raise. So we thought that would be the most practical thing to do given the current market. Put the hard dollars in the hands of long-term stickier shareholders. So we've been pretty strategic about curating a long-term shareholder base.
Right.
And so really the strategy is to take the hard dollars now, initiate work programs and really get things rolling on the project. And then we'll see where we go from there.
Oh, that's exciting. Congratulations, by the way, on that rate. That's a very exciting spot to be in.
It is definitely.
And it sounds like there could be lots of activities and results coming from JD in the coming months. You also have the Buck Gold Silver Copper project in central BC and are working towards a maiden mineral resource estimate. How is the maiden resource estimate progressing at the Buck Main Zone, and how do you see that adding value for shareholders?
The Buck mineral resource estimate is moving on nicely. We're very happy with the progress. However, these things do take time. So we want to
Mhm.
ensure it's done well, and we want to provide the investors with the best report possible on what the potential is here in the ground. And so once the necessary review of the initial resource is completed, we will be able to disclose the results. And just another thing to note in terms of Buck Main is this is still open in all directions and at depth. So there is ongoing exploration potential, which could potentially trigger an upsize to the mineral resource estimate. So, we're happy to build some value at Buck, have some ounces in the ground, move us past this early exploration play. And yeah, stay tuned. We will be releasing something in the near term.
Excellent. And now to move over a little bit to the share structure of how things are going on. So with the recent closing of the financing, you mentioned that you have, some stickier long-term shareholders that are at play here, but how many shares are we looking at that are outstanding and fully diluted?
So after our 3-to-1 share consolidation, which we completed in February, and then we recently closed the $2.5 million private placement, currently we have about 62 million shares outstanding and fully diluted about 85 million.
Okay.
So in terms of shareholder ownership, I did mention that we have a good group of long-term high net worth investors, as well as a significant retail portion. So we're very happy with our shareholder base, and we'll
Mhm.
continue to share the story and bring it to new audiences.
That's excellent. And so it also sounds like Sun Summit is up for a pretty exciting year as we continue into 2024 here. With that being said, what should investors be watching for in terms of catalysts in the next coming months?
2024 is going to be a very pivotal year for the company. We're looking at rapid project advancement at the JD project. So some near-term value creation with some high potential drill targets, as well as testing an area with multiple but underexplored high-grade targets, especially what was discussed in the news release just recently. And then in terms of Buck, putting some tangible value, some kind of valuation on the project with our initial MRE, the ounces in the ground will move us beyond that early exploration play. So 2024 is really focused on value creation and returning shareholder value. It'll really be a year of catalysts and news flow. So stay tuned.
Mhm.
We have a lot that we'll be sharing with the market.
Wow, that's great. And for those that want to connect with you or meet up with you, are you going to be at any events in the coming months here?
So on May 10th, we're attending the Metals Investor Forum. That's May 10th and 11th in Vancouver. That's a Friday and Saturday for those who can make it during the week or on the weekend if you work Monday to Friday. And then as well, we'll be in the Toronto area in June for an investor event. But if you do need to reach out, we're available online, social media, check out the website, connect with me on LinkedIn. And I'll be happy to discuss the projects and what our exploration plans are for this year.
That's great. Well, I will be sure to include the link for registration to the Metals Investors Forum here and also reiterate when you can meet up with Sharyn in Toronto. So yeah, I will personally be seeing you at Metals Investors Forum. Looking forward to that on May 10th and 11th. And I really want to thank you for answering all these questions. We covered a large scope of things
Yes.
and you provided a lot of really valuable information here.
Thanks, Courtney.
Thank you, Sharyn. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
You too.